G'day viewers, this is Frisky Grub bringing you another review. Today we're reviewing two new mice from Cooler Master. Cooler Master have revealed the CM Storm Mizar and CM Storm Alcor, which are of course part of their CM Storm gaming peripherals range. Now, at the heart and soul of the Alcor and the Mizar, they're basically identical. They have different sensors and different features. I'll go over those in a moment. But they are designed, at least conceptually, off the ever so popular IntelliMouse Explorer 3, which some of you might remember from the early noughties. So, looking at the design of the Alcor and the Mizar, they're basically the same. In fact, they're exactly the same, except for the features. Some of the features, like the grips on the Mizar, which I'll go over in a moment, and the lighting. That's just in terms of the aesthetics. In terms of the specs, the Alcor, the cheaper of the two, retails at $74.99 Australian, and the Mizar retails at $84.99. So that's only a $10 price difference. But in terms of the Alcor is using a very high quality optical sensor. So what the Alcor uses is the Avago 3090, whereas the Mizar, the more expensive of the two, uses a laser sensor, which is the Avago 9800 laser sensor. So personally, I prefer laser sensors over optical sensors, as I feel like they suit my needs better. The need for versatility over surfaces, as I don't always use a mouse pad due to some of the work that I do. Sometimes my desk is scattered with papers and whatnot, and I don't have room for a mouse pad. But a lot of people prefer optical sensors for various reasons. The choice of mouse will vary depending on your needs. So if we look at the other features of these mice, both of these mice have 4 variable DPI settings. Now this is fantastic. Most gaming mice these days have variable DPI. If it doesn't have variable DPI, most gamers won't choose them, because variable DPI is very useful both for first-person shooters, RTS, you name it. It's fantastic. Most mice by default only have 3 steps of DPI. Cooler Master with the Alcor and Mizar range have actually provided 4 steps of DPI. In steps of 800, going from 800, they have white backlit LED is 800 through to red, 1600, green is 16, I'm blank there, 2400, and then 3200 up at blue. Now, having 4 DPI steps is fantastic, as it gives you, if you only have 3, you're either limited in your range of DPI, or your DPI steps have to be much higher. Now, having high DPI steps, at least for me, is very frustrating, because I find that going from one DPI to another, if the step is too big, is a little too jarring, and it can put you off balance. So I like to have smaller DPI steps, usually around 700, but 800 is kind of at the mark for me, so that's kind of fine. Otherwise, I'd write my own custom, I'd have my own custom DPI settings and use those. So in terms of customizing the DPI, the Alcor has no software support whatsoever. The Mizar, however, does have firmware and app support that allows you to change the DPI settings for the Avago 9800 sensor, basically, up to a top of 8200 DPI. Now, 8200 is a little bit ridiculous. Most gamers won't ever go anywhere near that high. You get reduced accuracy and control at such a high DPI. But for quick twitch gamers who don't necessarily need precision, it's very, very useful. So that'll be a great selling point for people who have those requirements. Along with changing the DPI sets and the steps as well between the DPI 4 DPI stages, you can change the color of the rear CM Storm logo, which is nice. Along with the nominal 4 colors that the Alcor has, the Mizar also has magenta, cyan or cayenne, and yellow. That's great for aesthetics. In terms of functionality, the software for the Mizar does also record macros. I know I used macros a lot back when I was playing Minecraft, Technic Pack, and you had to dump buckets and buckets of lava into your thermogenerator to get lots of energy, but anyway, that's a digression, let's not go into that. So that's fantastic. They're basically the crux of this difference in the specs between the Alcor and the Mizar. Now let's look at the aesthetics and the shape. If we put one aside for now, since they're both very similar, and just look at the Mizar. So the Mizar, the shape of the mouse is very nice. It's designed as a palm grip mouse, and it's reasonably high in the rear here, which is fantastic for me, as that's where my hand naturally sits. I like the extra weight just under the ridge of my fingers. Extra height, sorry, just under the ridge of my fingers. It's quite thin compared to the mouse that I'm used to. I'm using a Myonix Naos at the moment, which is a much broader, flatter mouse, but I kind of like the elevated ridge rest. The weight of the mouse is about 86 grams. They're both weighed at about 86 grams, which is a little on the light side for me. The mouse, I think, my optimum is around 95, 96, but you know, 10 grams under isn't really much of a difference. I don't notice. They definitely don't feel flimsy. They feel very, very solid. They're made of ABS plastic, but it's a very good construction, so I don't feel like it's flimsy. On the right side of the mouse here, where your peripheral fingers float, there's sort of a, let's say, raised support there to support just under the bridge here where your fingers rest, which is fantastic, as it prevents them from just floating around and feeling uncomfortable. It also provides that little bit extra grip for longer gaming sessions where your hands may get a little sweaty. I tested both of these mice for extended periods, both in gaming and in office work, and I never felt a single moment of discomfort, except when I was using the side buttons here. So I'll just call them side buttons because they're on the side. When I was using these side buttons, this rearmost button is great. It's a great length. It's in a good position, and I guess the clicks kind of nice too. But when you try and press the foremost button, just from your hand resting position, I cannot press that. I cannot press that reliably without also pressing the rear button, unless I lift my hand up to press it. And now that seems unnecessary. That seems like a little bit of an oversight, and I'd rather not have to do that. So that's something that I'd like to see, that maybe, if I get this in focus here, I'd like to see maybe if they had have extended the button to be maybe a little bit longer, even cut back in on the original, on the rearmost button, or maybe just shift both of these buttons back a little, then that would have been fantastic. But that's a small gripe. I don't really use the front button that much anyway. But it may well annoy some people. So now focusing on the difference between the Mizar and the Alcor, you'll notice that the Alcor has just the ABS shell coated in rubberized matte black, which is fantastic. I'm a real fan of that. Has this silver bar down the front here. If we look at the Mizar, that's just black bar. Now, I kind of like the silver bar. I think it's sexy. I wish it was on the Mizar, but it has no rubber grips, whereas the Mizar does have rubber grips. Now, these rubber grips, I was a little bit dubious at first, actually, having never tried a mouse with rubber grips on it. But I kind of really like it. It's like, Cooler Master advertised it as reducing sweat build-up and grip during long gaming sessions. And yeah, I took it with a grain of salt, but no, I do agree. I think that the extra minute amount of grip that you get on this is actually kind of makes a difference after a while. And I thought that the sweat would maybe just pool in those little dimples. And like, it didn't really. I never felt sweat build-up on this mouse. Unlike my nails at the moment, I know that gets a little bit sweaty at times. But, you know, a quick little trouser hand wipe doesn't really hurt every now and then. So, in terms of sweat build-up on the Alcor, it's like, again, it's like any mouse. It's not a gloss finish, so sweat build-up won't annoy you as much. But there is still some sweat build-up, especially for a sweaty user. So if you are a sweaty user, I would definitely recommend the Mizar, as I can vouch for it. It does help. So in terms of the other aesthetics, I've mentioned the different LED colors that the Mizar has over the Alcor, but it also has the LED lit scroll wheel and DPI switches. Now, that's all well and good, but I find it very frustrating that they stay the same color. They stay white when you change the DPI. It looks a little silly, and to be honest, when you're changing DPI mid-game, it'd be nice to be able to see that change color, the scroll wheel and the DPI switches change color, because otherwise you have to lift your palm to verify the DPI setting, which seems, again, a little bit of an oversight. Let's talk about the clicks. The main clicks are quite good. They aren't too resistive. There's not too much resistance there. Sounds a little bit rich, a little bit too loud for my liking, but again, the small gripe, you don't even notice that when you've got headphones on, which I do most of the time anyway. The click runs the full length of the paddle, which is nice if you're ever clicking anywhere away from your nominal resting position. Left and right button, the response is identical, which is also fantastic, because sometimes when it's not, it's quite off-putting. The side buttons, click response on that is quite nice. On the rear button, very satisfying. On the front button, I do find the resistance a little bit high, which just also adds to that other annoyance with the positioning of it. In terms of the DPI switches, they feel fine. You don't use them that often, but the click it's a little hollow, but the click is good. I have some issue with the scroll wheel, as whilst it's very precise and very responsive, it does sound a little cheap and plastic. It would have been nice if, especially at this price point, if Cooler Master had to put like a little bit more heavy-duty scroll wheel in there, just to add to the completeness of the mouse. That goes, those comments go for both these mice, as the essentially the mechanics of the mice are identical. So to wrap this up, I'll also mention briefly the cord. Both cables terminate at a gold-plated USB connector, which is always nice. The Alcor has just the standard rubberized cable, whereas the Mizar, if I focus on this for you guys, the Mizar has a very nice, smooth, thin, elegant braided cable. It's a really nice braiding. Sometimes the braiding on these mice are not actually all that fantastic, but in terms of the braiding on this mouse, Cooler Master have really nailed it, which overall just finishes the, I guess, the complexity of the Mizar. It's a very nice, elegant looking mouse, and I'm a huge fan of the Mizar. The Alcor not so much, but I am a fan of the laser sensor over the optical sensor. So that kind of wraps things up for this. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer. Otherwise, subscribe to the channel, hit a like if you found this useful. Hit a like anyway, because I like likes. Likes make me happy. Subscribe to the channel. I will have more reviews of Cooler Master products and other products as I purchase them. I happen to come across them. Might have a few comments on PCs and that I may build. But I'm not going to swarm your channel with, swarm your feed with a bunch of random videos that are useless. It'll mostly be computer related stuff. So thanks for watching, and have a good day.